Good day and good evening, and welcome to the Extreme Countdown with me, Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. Tonight, we're going to try and beat Thornmarch Extreme, or Good King Moggle Mog, praise be his fluffiness, with as few players as possible. But the way we're going to go about it is we're going to start with 8 and then work our way down until we no longer can do it. This boss in particular is a little strange, because it's like, it's more about dealing the damage to the correct person at the correct time than doing a lot of damage. And there's a lot to go over. There's a lot of things the different Moogles can do. And I'll probably talk a little bit about it. As it stands right now, I have a garden of, you know, I do recognize that we're technically 8 people here, but I know one person wants to sit out and another's making space in case anyone else wants to have a go. So, if you want to participate in this, we're still looking for some people. And you don't have to have beaten the boss before. I'll try my best to explain the mechanics as we go. The important part is being interested in trying. But before I do that, hey anime freaks, Zav, Tristan, Yogurt, Lexi, Ceres, Agibuster, Cackling Spider, Rust, Gazadragoon, Ruby, Matthew, Sawyer, BSR, and Ilana. Hope you're all doing very well. You caught a chat. Da 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 da. So, let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the fight before we get started. So, if you've done Good King Moggle Mog, praise be, on hard, you'll find nowadays that it has nothing in common with the extreme version, because they reworked the hard version but not the extreme version. Which means that you will not be able to apply any knowledge from the hard version to the extreme version, unless, of course, you did the hard version before the rework, which is a while ago at this point. The way the fight works on extreme, to just take it from the top, we will be facing the king himself and no one else. When he drops to about 90% HP, he will become invulnerable and he will summon the Mog's Guard. Though there are 7 of them, and they are 7 different jobs. When one of the Mog's Guard dies, the king will cast a spell that moments after resurrects any dead Moogles and fully heals all the Moogles. But he does so from his own health pool, so it hurts him to do this. The more damage he needs to recover on the Mog's Guard, the more health he loses. He will do this twice, which means phase 1 is King Moggle Mog alone. You hit him down to 90%. Phase 2 is him and the Mog's Guard. And when you kill a Moogle, it basically switches to phase 3, which is the same, except the Mog's Guard has a few more tools up their sleeve. What they are is not particularly important right now, because for the most part we'll have to react to what they do, because to my knowledge they're somewhat random, like they'll kind of mix it up. Yeah, I don't believe it's a consistent sequence every time, but it doesn't really matter. You'll discover that in a few tries if it is. But in phase 3, it's aside from that there's a few more attacks, it's the same fight. When you kill a Moogle, King Moggle Mog will use his own HP to resurrect and heal all of the Moogles. And from what I know, from what we've talked about earlier, Ogni, or Fina, made me aware that there's a very, very, very high possibility that he will not do anything more until a Moogle dies in phase 4. To be specific, phase 4 starts with the Moogles casting Mog Meteor, which hurts but doesn't kill you. And then, from what I've seen and from what Ogni has mentioned, the fight continues as normal until you kill a Moogle. The instant a Moogle hits the floor, the king will start casting Memento Moogle, which is his Hardened Rage. It takes a while for him to cast it, but you have to kill all of the Mog's Guard and then the king before that cast finishes. So if you just smack one Moogle and kill it immediately, then you have to kill all of the other Moogles from full and then whatever remains of the king. And the key here that makes this extra difficult is if you goofed it up in phase 2 or 3, then the king has too much HP to spare. So you will not be able to kill him in time. Like, it's as simple as that. So it's really important that we get it right in phase 2 and 3. Essentially, make a mistake in phase 2, you will lose in phase 4, even though you did phase 3 perfectly. Make a mistake in phase 3, you will lose in phase 4, even if you did phase 2 perfectly. Even if you do phase 4 perfectly. Make one mistake in a prior phase and then it doesn't matter. That's kind of the idea. Also, hey Cat Damon, hey Darth, and hey Philip. Hope you're doing well. But that is the plan. Now, what do the Moogles do? And by the way, as I said earlier, we're still looking for 2 people. I have a Milo here who can join if we can only find 1 person, but we would like 1 more person. At least 1 more person. So if you want to join, we are on Louisoire Chaos at plot 36, ward 29 in the Lavender Beds. And this stream can be rewound, so if you didn't see it, or maybe you were looking at something else on your screen, you can just grab the timeline in the bottom and just rewind until you hear me talking about my house. And then you can see this again. Now, as I was saying, what do the Moogles do? So, the king himself is able to steal mana or MP, so that's a great start. Makes Dark Knight have a very good time in this fight. We'll try to make do anyway. And he will also be able to buff whatever Moogles are near him, as far as I understood. He does this by wiggling his butt. I mean, whatever suits your fancy, if that works, if that motivates your people, then, you know. But the king has to be tanked by someone. But there are also 2 tank Moogles that ironically also need to be tanked. There's a warrior Moogle and a paladin Moogle. And it doesn't really matter that there's a paladin and a warrior Moogle. The important part is that they each apply a debuff to their target that makes the equivalent attack from the other tank do more damage. So you don't want to swap these. However, because one of the tanks has to take the king, when the king has buffed that tank too much, you will have to, like, bring the king over to the other tank. So the king has to be tank swapped, not the tanks, which is a little strange. At least based on the information that I found. Because of this, and because tanks have a tendency to heal from their attacks, you wouldn't want to hurt those first. You'd prefer to leave those healthy for the tanks to work with. Makes it easier for them. So they're not the highest priority to hurt. Next, we have the Black Mage Moogle, the Palm Burner. He does 2 things. Sometimes he'll just summon a few meteors, like small meteors, you know. They don't explode very far, because that's how physics work, right? That's not dangerous. But sometimes he'll cast Palm Flare, and I'm pretty sure because of item level and such, it won't kill us. But we kinda want to deal with it right anyway, because it really hurts. Now, the way you deal with it is that the Palm Burner, the Black Mage Moogle himself, or herself, itself, is interrupted by getting hit 5 times. Exactly 5 times. Which means that if we've like whittled down the Black Mage to like 10% HP and then it starts to cast Palm Flare, then our only option is to kill it. Which is not a good solution. So basically the Black Mage Moogle is like really low on priority as a result of this. Which Moogle does Moogle go round? I believe that's the Paladin. And then we have the White Mage. The White Mage Moogle basically just like huddles around and casts Palm Cure every so often. It's not a problem. In fact, if you accidentally hurt a Moogle a bit too much, you can sometimes hold out hope that the White Mage will heal that Moogle a bit so you can do something again. Like, for example, if you hurt the Black Mage too much, maybe a Palm Cure is waiting in your future and it'll be fine. But sometimes the White Mage will do a combo attack with... Let me just check to be sure. The Warrior. And it's the Warrior who uses Moogle Go Round. And the White Mage will use Palm Holy, which is interrupted by hitting the White Mage 5 times. So again, you don't want to hurt the White Mage too much, because if it decides to cast Palm Holy and it's weak, your only option is to kill it. You don't want that. At least, the point is you want to, of course, beat up the Moogles, but you don't want to get forced to do it at a specific time. This is going to be quite meticulous, so it's going to be important that we don't get forced to do something as we go through. That, of course, leaves 3 more Moogles. There is a Thief that will run around the arena and just stab people randomly. That is not a big problem unless he decides to hang out near the king too much. So generally, you don't want anyone, like you want to preferably have people not hang out near the tank who is tanking the king, because that will incentivize the thief to hang out near the king. And you don't want that. We also have a bard, Shaggy Song, who can cast a damage buff near him. I don't believe we have much control over him, so the best we can do is just don't be near him if he looks like he's feeling like singing. And then we have the Ranger. An interesting thing about the Ranger is that he is supposedly the shot caller. He will be the one that says specific things when specific mechanics happen. Which means that there are a few mechanics that can happen. For example, I believe there is a mechanic. There is a mechanic where 3 players get home-ganged. The 3 closest to the paladin gets home-ganged. Home-gang. Olmgang or something like that. I don't know if it's the warrior who does it, but it's near the paladin supposedly. And the 3 players furthest away from the paladin gets marked for Rain of Death. This happens when the ranger says aye aye, or something like that. And that's just like a mechanic warning. I don't know how long we have to deal with it. Similarly, if he says something involving the word delta, you want to get out of the middle of the room, because some Moogles will pair up and do like a triangle attack called delta, which hurts like wow, in the middle of the room. Notably in that triangle. We're not down to 6 already. We haven't filled the group yet. But hey, Abelia, and Weaver, and Perrin, and Bronto, and Legend Raccoon, and Aura. You're all doing very well. We haven't started yet. We're going over some mechanics. It does seem like there isn't anyone else forthcoming. I think this will be our group. So, as usual, the way we're going to do it is we know we're going to need 2 tanks. Because we're going to need a tank for each Moogle, or each tank Moogle, and there is a mandatory tank switch. Which means that the tanks need to be able to, you know, provoke swap the king. So we need 2 tanks. We don't need 2 healers necessarily, we don't know that yet. So we might want to just run with 1 healer. Not entirely sure on that, but I do think the best way to figure that out is to try when we still have a lot of players. I will be the 1 healer. I will be going as Scholar, simply because there's 2 tanks and it will be easier to manage that healing. The rest will just be DPS. Each time we beat the boss, we'll go down 1 player. If it turns out we need 2 healers, then we'll have to jump out, and I do see that Tristan did want to heal, so we will keep that in mind when that comes, if that comes. And my expectation is that we will probably be able to do it with 5 players, maybe 4. I'll also say that before we get started, I'm of course not going to say that you can't play a specific job, but I will say that it's going to be really hard to set up standard finish in this arena. Just for your own sake, Orkney. But if you do want to play Dancer... I'll repeat it. Given that we have to be very careful what we heard, it might be difficult to use standard step and standard finish, Orkney. Just for your own sake. If you're aware of that, and you still want to play Dancer, that's of course fine. I wasn't going to require that, but I'm just saying for your own sake. And that warning also goes out to Rust. I don't know if you'll even have or use Limit Break. Hey Ham, and Vivi, and Ocean, hope you're doing well. It will probably be a good idea to have ranged physical jobs deal with Pom Flare and Pom Holy. Notably because you just have to hit the White Mage or Black Mage 5 times to stop them. I mean, a machinist can basically, like, I don't know, like, it depends on whether you have it available, but you would just be able to go, you know, GZD, goes around Ricochet, bam, problem solved. So that's something to keep in mind. You can stop. Yes, you can stop them by hitting them. If they're casting Pom Flare, Pom Holy, you just have to hit them 5 times. Allegedly, I haven't actually seen this like in a control environment where that was clearly what happened. That's what the guide says. Should we give it a go? We'll probably have to discuss some things once we're inside. Piece of advice from me is don't go full Mega Blast on your rotation. Go a little carefully. You don't know if someone else is targeting your target. At least not for sure. And we're not in a hurry. So, one tank has to tank the warrior and one tank has to tank the paladin, and one of them has to pick up the king. So we need to know who's picking up the king and who's picking up warrior and paladin. It doesn't really matter, it's just something you need to choose. And yeah, Weaver, the idea is you have to make sure that all of them die almost exactly at the same time, if you can, at least as many as you can. So, generally, the way that we're going to fight these mobs, or these Moogles, these Mogs, is we will hit them until they hit 10% HP. When all of them are around at around 10%, then we go blast and kill everything. And that's not a bad idea to have your cooldowns. So just go BAM! And just blast them as quickly as you can. And then just hold back until we're ready to do it again. In the final bit, it may also be worth noting that since the king starts casting Memento Moogle when one dies, again, it will be good to save your cooldowns to be sure that you have everything when we go blast. There's of course also the thing that while I will try to make some callouts, I think, let me just test something. Four seconds of delay on the stream, give or take. So if I call something, it might be too late when you hear me say it. So a difficult challenge here is, of course, that we all have to be pretty good in our own right of being aware of what's going on. But yeah, the thing is, just to reiterate, the attack order is the warrior and the paladin don't have any reason to be attacked first, and the tanks will probably be hurting them a little bit, just, you know, maintenance, healing themselves and all that. The white mage and the black mage have mechanics that are stopped by attacking them, so we don't want to attack them and whittle them down before no one else is available. Like, basically the white mage and black mage can just be ignored until all the other Moogles are low. Which of course means that the attack priority, not kill priority, hurting priority, the Moogles we want down to 10%, is Ranger, Thief and Bard. That's first priority. Then, like, somewhat in an even split, Warrior, Paladin, White Mage and Black Mage. But the Warrior and Paladin a little bit more important. They all have names and they don't actually clearly determine what they are. But the Black Mage has a big hat, the White Mage has a cane, the Ranger has a green hat, the Bard has a harp, the Thief has a bandana, the Warrior has an axe, and the Paladin has a shield, so they're somewhat obvious if you look at them. But that's kind of the idea. Are there any questions in-game? Any questions from the squad in-game? And that's also true, Ham. Only the Warrior and Paladin and the King are mobs that you can have direct control over. Should I do the countdown, or does a tank want to do it? Does the Warrior not reset aggro occasionally too? Both tanks reset aggro sometimes as one of the mechanics. But that's just something that the tanks will have to be kind of aware of. Now I'll do the very weird thing of not using Art of War. Blech. Oh right, that doesn't hurt. Right, around 10% is our target. Around 10%, then you should switch to a different... Oh, it seems like the Black Mage is doing his thing. See, there he's got interrupted there. Very nice. Oh boy. It's a little spooky when they get really low. Someone's dead. Start killing. And stop killing. And you do the same thing again. Ah! Nice. Oh. One died a little soon there. I think we'll be fine though. Again, careful. I believe we have to be careful. It's not super kill time. Not yet. Hurt them down. And when they're all low, or when one of them dies, we have to go full blast. There's the Palm Flare. There we go. Very good. 9% on the king already. That's amazingly good. That snuck up on me. Sorry, BSR. Ow. I think it's time for killing. A little too far away for the art of war. Very nice. Got a little hectic at the end. But that was actually the reason why I said that it would be nice if we have tanks that can heal themselves like Gunbreakers and Dark Knights and Warriors. It's because I know that with only one healer, I'm going to be all over the place. Looking at everything and then going, oh right, healing. That's a thing. Very nice. That was with 8. Do we have someone who wouldn't mind sitting out from here on? It is a little strange because it felt like it was not like that the main healing, the main brunt of the healing was just the tanks. Alright, Cat Damon hops out. Thank you for your participation. It's the exact same thing. We do the exact same thing, just now we're 7. Ham says, without the buffs on the king, most of the Mughals are pretty harmless. And yeah, the problem is, the danger is that I did see some of the Mughals just had found, like, they had just, like, gone, like, ooh, piece of candy, and had, like, 2 stacks somehow. And that's also true, Darth. That was kind of what was causing a lot of trouble for me, was that everyone's quite spread out. And there was a little bit of panic soccer spam. I had a feeling it wouldn't work. Same plan. So hey, hey Bits Fox, hope you're doing well. Blam! I should not have done that. I just wanted to see, okay? I just wanted to see. I should not have done that. Ooh, we're getting a little close. Ow. 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 Kill time. And stop time. Back to whittling away. Ow. 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 Where's the stabby boy? There he is. Take this! I didn't make it. I was looking for the white mage instead of the people that needed Ishuna. I'm sorry. And final round. Final round. Fight. Carefully. You have live chat Discord for groups? Do you have live chat and Discord for groups? I do not. It's just me. Oh, what do you mean, Sawyer? Alright, time to clean it up and kill a boss. Oh, 8%! Very nice! I think we actually killed him faster that time. Yeah, so there's two reasons. Well, there's two reasons why it's just me on the mic. The first one is Ruby says I believe they mean for callouts with less latency. I am aware that that's a problem, and my team is too. I am both making the callouts, which might help, but it also helps the people watching that they can see what's actually happening. But one reason is that I don't want anyone to feel like they have to be in voice chat. So I just don't make it an option, because then some people will be like, oh, I don't feel like doing that on a live stream that is kept forever, potentially. Does this fight happen frequently in Mental Roulette? I've seen it once and it didn't work. And also that's true, Perrin. It's not a great idea to have wildcard elements on a hot mic. Someone could just hop in and say something really offensive. Or start swearing up a storm. But I've only had it once and it didn't work. God damn, it has to be the first out, because if it drops down to 2 players, Guy will be the one to drop while Cat solos it. That's an interesting point. And that would be really, really funny. I've seen Ramu a lot more times, yeah. Like, I will say... I had, I think, like 17 mentor roulettes done privately. But that also means that I have over, like, I have, let's see. I have 170 done now, right? And that means that I have like nearly 160 or at least 150 mental roulettes recorded. And the Ramu Extremes are all of the Ramu Extremes I've seen, but that's the one I've seen most of all Extremes, personally. It says, I think it's possible to make a Discord channel where only you can unmute someone, maybe. I'm pretty sure that's possible, yeah. But I hadn't considered that this was necessary. So I've just, like, we haven't gotten to that point. Also, Agni bowed out. Thank you for helping. I hope you had fun. Hi, Ardell. Hope you're doing well. And also, this is actually another point that Sav also mentioned. Part of the inspiration of this series, part of the inspiration of this series is exactly mental roulette. You land in Thornmarch Extreme, and you might go, like, you might not feel super inclined that you'll beat it because you have 7 idiots, right? But if it turns out that you only need, like with Thornmarch, it's a little complicated because you would still need the idiots to just don't do anything. But it's interesting to see how many people that actually know what they're doing you need to beat the fight. But if I then also go, but what if you also had voice chat? Then it starts to, like, get a little blurry, right? It gets a little weird. So, like, that's part of the reason why I also just don't do voice chat for this. I have set the stream latency to be as low as possible, though, so the fact that it is around 4 seconds, I think, is just unfortunate. Thank you, Aridel. That is pretty unfortunate, Philippe. And like the classic. That was the reason why I was so shocked that I got a group where everything just somehow worked. Yeah. I don't know why I feel inclined to step out of it whenever it does that. I don't think it does any damage. I'm pretty sure... Now, that, on the other hand... Ow. Ow. It's a little bit scary. Oh my god! What? He actually dropped to 1 HP. Or 1.1% HP at least. And this is really good. We're really good about actually like spreading out the damage. March of the Moogles. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think I'm dead. Yep. That was amazingly sudden. What was it? It's an interesting Holmgang right there. I'm pretty sure that's not what Holmgang does. Guide Rider? Second healer or bard would be nice. I'm pretty sure it targets the a number of players that is the that is the furthest. It silences you. It stopped me from acting. Like, it didn't silence me. It stopped me from doing anything. I'm pretty sure it targets the people that are the furthest away. So this we can bypass by me just hanging out closer to where the tanks are. That way other people will be further away. And then we can review the bard thing afterwards. But yeah, the key here is that the reason why it would be better to see if we can find a way to bypass it without switching jobs is that it charms 2 players. So if we don't find out how to deal with that, then he'll just charm me and the bard next time, and then we lose anyway. Ugh. Oh, I'll hang like here. Then there's a very, very small chance that I'm the furthest away from the paladin. Ow. Oh. Oh, wow! Wow! Whoa! We actually got all of them! That's amazing! Sonnen says, is there's a reason why you don't use bio? Exactly because of the reason that Agibuster said. You don't want to dot them up, because then you're not sure how much damage you're doing. Like, you can't suddenly pause, and here it comes again, I think? Yep. Let me just review the mechanic before we go again. Oh. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Holmgang targets the 3 players closest to the paladin, so I should have been doing exactly the opposite of what I was doing. I should have actually stayed as far away from the paladin as possible. Wow. Well, I mean, I flipped a coin and I guessed wrong. Where's ARR Celine when you need her? I feel like I wouldn't be able to tell her to do the thing, even though she would have had her own bar. Alright, so I'll do this, so I know where to not be. I'll just be all the way over here. Just as... Oop. Just as far away from the paladin as I feasibly can. But this will be a problem. This might actually be what would prevent us from beating this with a low player count. Oh, there's the random meteors, I think. Nice! Full clear! Yeah, that is true. You could probably have commanded old ARR Celine to use leeches and then just have a move so that she doesn't get to do it. See, we did it this time. I think there's a death. Yep. Final round. Remember, once something dies... Did he interrupt my soccer cast? That's a little worrying. So much chaos. Oh, kill time. Nice. Right, so that solves the problem, kind of, mostly. The problem there is that he will, like, the paladin will always do that on the 3 closest players, and I don't know if you saw how long he, like, how far he was reaching to make that happen. Which means that when we're down, like, this will not happen with 3 players. And it will already be a nightmare with 4, because it means that whatever we do, I have to be the, like, I or whoever else can remove a debuff has to be far enough away that they can use, that someone can remove the debuff on someone so that we can continue. And it has to be really fast. Because, well, if we're down to 4, like right now we're going down to 5, I know, but when we go down to 4, what will happen is both tanks will always be hit, which means that the other tank who's specifically tanking something that needs to be away from the king, or worse, that tank will bring the king over. That will be a bad time, which means that, like, the Isuna priority is like, well, Warden's P and myself, then the tank, and then who, like, the tank who isn't tanking the paladin, and then everyone else. Frost says, I wonder if I should dot Moogles. Probably not. It might be difficult to see. I think, let's see, like, try not dotting the Moogles. If we get pressed for time somehow, some way, then that's a different story. Also, thank you for joining, Ilana. But yeah, this will not be possible with 3. So this is the first time we don't even have a chance of doing it with just 3. Simply because with only 3, when the home gang comes in, we lose. It might be worth having the bard preemptively pay on Kai. That could also be. It's just worth noting that Warden's Paean has, you know, a cooldown greater than its duration. So it will require some, like, it will basically require that Rust sees the beam and then just uses Warden's Paean preemptively. Like, just throws it out there. Like, that can still work. Like, if when you see the beam, use Warden's Paean on someone. I'll still just hang out in the opposite end of the arena relative to the Paladin. Yeah, we haven't seen the king choose to harden rage yet. So we haven't, like, we have not been in a situation where time is actually something we're lacking. So, like, that's at least something. What? That happened a little bit sudden. Did I forget to heal you? Did I forget to heal you, or did it just suddenly surprise you as well, Neb? Oh, here comes the triangle. Boom. I think, yeah, I was just about to say. Why did it not? I was trying to target you. Okay, I think we've stabilized. But I really do need to be, like... it's a little problematic. It's like, to make sure I'm the furthest away, I'm not really in range of Nep at any time. Oh boy, there's a lot of healing to be done. Ah! Oh yeah, triangle chains in E5S. That was fun. I did actually do that. Final round. If they don't even use the Homegang chains, that feels a little bit almost like cheating. Oh yeah, we'll just keep trying until they don't do the mechanic. Yeah. Hopefully I'll live long enough to tell the tale. No! Why did you just stand there? What happened to you, Tristan? Like, I'm pretty sure I freed you. Could you not move? You forgot to move. I mean, that's honest. Oh, right. The poison under me. Indeed. Kill time. I don't think we're making this. LB? It's too late for LB now. Wow! Whew, just barely. Hey Leah, hope you're doing well. If I remember correctly, my raid team, when I did E5S, we didn't do triangles for the chains. We just, like, did circles. I believe triangles was slightly more, like, DPS uptime. Something like that. Because it meant that you didn't, like, that there was less chance that a melee would have to be out of range or something like that. Yeah, it does seem like we will need to have a bard to be sure this works. Yeah, this is going to be really tight. Oh, right, triangle out, full uptime with minimal movement. Only one person, the healer, or ranged physical, had to move on each side. And Pukla could be stunned before he drops poison. I'm pretty sure they can't be stunned just flat. No worries, Tristan. It just looked really funny. I was like, did I not heal you? Did I not use his rune on you? Like, I could have tried to heal you, but as you could probably see, I was prioritizing using Ishuna on everyone, being like one hit away from death myself. So, like, no time to heal you. That is actually also a good point, Darth. With only 4 players on the field, it's probably okay to dot up once on each Moogle rust. I could have healed you, but... Well, in this case, Cursed Blessing, it was... I could have healed you, but I was dying. And you're dying because you're standing in stuff. Like, I can't heal the burn marks if you're standing in the fire. That kind of logic. Ah! So basically, if I can trust that Zafen BSR stays over, like, over there, then I just need to be further away from the Paladin than Rust. And also Zaf, I suppose. Are you ready for real-time geometry? Yeah. Ah. Chase meteors. Oh, did one of them die? The paladin died. Ooh, that's not a good start. Moggle go round. Can I make it? Did that count? I don't think it did. You took way too much damage for that to not count. It may be necessary to do some lightning shots or unmends. There's simply too much HP to cleave through for me and Rust. Hmm. 19%. Oh boy. That's that's going to be rough, to say the least. Hey Yuki, hope you're doing well. And the Stravi. Oh, that's a lot of damage buffs. That's a lot of damage buffs. Yeah, this hasn't really been a major issue in the previous goes because usually, like, we switched rounds in time for it to not accumulate too hard, but the simple fact that they're just, like, most of them have 3 stacks of damage buffs from somewhere is a problem. Like, a mega problem. Every time the king does that circle thing, he hands out damage buffs, and every time the oops, here it comes. Nope. I died too soon. I took 8,000 damage, by the way. Yeah, Viek, the king is invulnerable until the Mog's Guard is dead. Might be time to stay out of the middle of the arena to avoid the triangle. That would help, but that isn't enough. Like, as I said, what killed me there was Rain of Death, which I believe does more damage the further you are away, but it certainly didn't help that the ranger had damage buffs. It's a little complicated because the damage buffs are, to my understanding, handed out by him and Shaggy Song. And you all saw Shaggy Song, right? Those buffs were giant, like, huge. But yeah, it's totally fine for the tanks to move with their ad. Like, that's okay. You just don't want to get too close to the other tank. But yeah, it's totally fine to move around. Like, I specifically put focus target on the paladin because I was assuming that it was going to move. See, but boss movement isn't fantastic. It isn't. It is not. It is not fantastic. I'm not saying that this is like the magic solution to our troubles. I'm just saying that we've reached a point where the damage buffs seem to stack a little too hard, and I don't know what we can do about it. We'll keep trying. Who knows? Maybe we'll need echo buffs. It is, however, already abundantly clear that this can't be done with 3. If we were to do it with 3, we would need to have a bard, and that means we can't have both a healer and 2 tanks. And we can't do it without 2 tanks. So, like one step at a time, it's rather clear that it's just not happening. So if we can do this, I think that's as far as we can make it, like, as far as we can push it. Two tanks and a bard. Oh yeah, the part about not standing in the middle. Right. Good point, Ham. You know, the funniest part about that is that the ranger actually says something. So if we just looked more at the ranger, we wouldn't need to worry about that. We could just look at the ranger and go, oh, he's doing the thing now. For some reason, I expected something other than that from that marker. And for some reason, I predicted unavoidable damage. Dead. 49%. That's pretty good. Ow. Oh, here it comes. Bleh. How about suddenly meteors? There's one ad that is basically a wind, like a blow of wind, like a little breeze away from death. Dead. 9%. Okay, one more time. One more time. The tank Moogles always scare me so much because they get pushed to the limit. Like, one single hit, if you just look at them wrong, they'll die. Aggro reset? That one always sneaks up on you. Kill time! Limit break. Amazing! Finished in like an hour. 4 players. But no mounts. So that was a quite easy countdown. The sad part is that there is no way to push it to 3. Surprise tea time. So when do you get to the hard part? I thought that was it. Like, I don't know, we finished so fast. Maybe we should do an extra countdown while we're here. Time for more dailies. I mean, we could push it and see we could try Bowl of Embers, but I've done no prep for that one. Have you done it? Yes. 2 weeks ago. Did you not see it, Perrin? We did Leviathan 2 weeks ago. Ifrit normal countdown. I mean, Ifrit normal actually drops down to 1. I do believe I did that in my solo challenge series. We could try that. I just need a moment to actually check what the strat is. I've actually never had a like, the best I've had for Ifrit Extreme was I think it was a mental roulette run. But when we finally beat it, we beat it like by accident. Like, the mechanic that was beating us repeatedly didn't get dealt with. It was just that the particular pull where we killed the boss, I think we had enough echo that somehow we survived it. Right. Let's see. Abilities. Maybe I should just do like this. Abilities. Incinerate. That's an amazing start to an action description. Old school wiki page here. Incinerate, for example, will apply a stackable debuff named Superation to those it hits. Is that an example? Is that an example? Is this fine? I'm like, that's not an example. That's literally what it does, right? It reduces max HP for its entire duration. I'm pretty sure it also increases damage taken. As a result, the main and off tank should occasionally swap to clear their stacks and prevent Superation from reducing their max health to dangerously low levels, all while keeping Ifrit turned away from the party to prevent Incinerate from hitting them. How many stacks should we switch on? 5? 4? 3? Does anyone know? It's just pretty funny that it goes Incinerate, for example, will apply. Like, that's not an example. It's literally what it does. 3 to 4. Yeah, VVMD, we beat Good King Moggle Mog with 4 players. There is a mechanic that makes it unbeatable on 3 players, unfortunately. The Holmgang grabs 3 players and charms them basically until you die. And the only escape is Ishuna or Warden's Paean, but we need 2 tanks and a healer, so we can't also bring a bard. We did bring a bard for 4, exactly for that, and it turned out to be needed, as far as I recall. See, Eruption, unlike the other difficulties, can no longer be interrupted. Does anyone interrupt Eruption? I'm pretty sure the logic there is that on normal and hard, you can actually stun Ifrit, so you can actually prevent him from doing that. I just want you to know that I was reading the Thornmarch equivalent of this page to prepare for this stream. And that one also had this kind of stuff where it's like pretty clear that it's a little old. Eruption will be cast in 2 distinct ways. The first eruption is cast on 3 DPS in succession, which is best avoided by having all DPS players stick together and move as a group to prevent chaos and unnecessary damage. I mean, that's chase AoEs. So just make sure you're not... You can stun Ifrit on normal and on hard, but not extreme. Try it. I'm actually not 100% on hard, but I'm pretty sure you can stun him on normal. It's baited AoEs, you could also call it that. I mean, if they chase the 3 players. Or is it all 3 DPS players at once? Because then when they say in succession, it sounds like it's like 1, 2, and 3. The second version is a single eruption targeted at the current off-tank, who should maintain distance from the DPS, but close enough to perform a tank swap if needed. I mean... Searing Wind is an ability exclusive to Extreme Mode that is cast specifically at healers, assuming they're alive, causing them to periodically deal an explosive AoE knockback that inflicts massive damage to those caught in the blast, except the healer themselves. Due to this, both healers also need to maintain a positional rotation to keep the party safe during mechanical overlaps. Hellfire is used at 3 points during the battle, excluding the 4th and final Hellfire, which is used to wipe the raid. With each one, a Radiant Plume will be cast over the entire arena, leaving 2 small safe spots that rotate in a clockwise motion with each new Hellfire. Oh, that's where the equivalent mechanic, why that makes sense in E6. Ah, interesting. It's like a callback. Players are encouraged to utilize safe spots in a coordinated manner to avoid mechanical overlaps. For example, tanks will often need to position Ifrit in one safe spot and remain there with the DPS, while the healer afflicted by Searing Wind uses the other safe spot to prevent inflicting damage and knockback to the group. Ifrit will use Crimson Cyclone after each Radiant Plume, only this time there will be an additional copy of Ifrit, 4 in total, all with a wider attack compared to previous difficulties, making the mechanic more difficult to dodge. However, the charge order hasn't changed, thus players should once again move beside the leftmost Ifrit as it always charges first. Infernal Nails will need to be dealt with after Hellfire and are far more difficult to destroy. Unlike previous difficulties, destroying a nail will cause an infernal surge, inflicting arena-wide damage and applying an unavoidable debuff that increases damage taken for a short period. Due to this change, nails should be taken down individually rather than AoE down like in previous difficulties. Do people AoE down the nails? I'm pretty sure on hard and normal the nails are spread exactly far enough out that you can't AoE them, and on normal some jobs don't even have an AoE. Yeah, I was thinking of Conflag Strike. Let's see. Only four nails will be summoned after the first Hellfire, increasing to 7 with the second, and then 13 on the last. The 13 nails specifically include a much larger nail in the arena center, which is a worthwhile target for a level 3 melee limit break. Oh boy. Lastly, Ifrit will begin affecting 2 players with Infernal Fetters during the second phase, typically a DPS and the off-tank, which increases damage taken, deals damage over time, and decreases damage done for its duration. This effect grows in potency depending on how far apart the 2 targets are, hence they must remain close together until the effect fades. Due to each nail phase being a DPS check and the need for tank swaps throughout the encounter, allowing Infernal Fetters to reduce the damage done by a DPS and increase damage taken by an off-tank is a great hindrance if both players don't coordinate appropriately. Each phase lasts until Ifrit casts Hellfire at 75%, 50% and 15% health. After the third Hellfire, players must slay Ifrit before he has time to cast a fourth and final Hellfire, which is guaranteed raid-wide. Hardened Rage. I think you cast LB nails in the extreme. Maybe these days. Maybe these days. So basically, from what I'm gathering from this, the particularly like there's a lot of mechanics here, and a lot of them is like, well, don't stand in the bad stuff, right? But specifically, the tank switch mechanic means that we need 2 tanks. The Searing Wind, I'm guessing it requires the healer to be so far away that it's going to be difficult to keep the people, like, keep the group alive. I'm not sure how big it is, so that's why I'm uncertain. Which... Leah says, I don't see tethers mentioned. Isn't that Infernal Fetters? They tether a DPS and an off-tank? Is it that one? They didn't call it tethers! They didn't call the Earthshaker mechanic Earthshaker, so I can't see it. There's actually a lot of things in this guide where it's like they don't use the common name for the thing because the guide is so old that the common name didn't exist. Or people didn't use it. The wind AoE is about half the room or so. I don't think it's possible for a healer to deal with that. Like, it would mean that the tank is... that the main tank will never be within reach if, like, a healer's just stuck dealing with Searing Winds all the time. Vivi says it also trolls hard because people assume tether's broken by splitting. To be fair, for a moment here, Ifrit Extreme is from A Realm Reborn. How many tether mechanics existed at this time in A Realm Reborn? Leah says 0. Which means there's no precedence for, oh, we have to run away from each other to deal with the tether. But it's really funny for new players. Ramu Ramu had that odd way to clear. Well, yeah, Ramu's didn't involve anything with distance. And Ramu was later. Remember the first tether in the first dungeon after level 50? Which one? Exactly, Girin. Basically, Ifrit was there probably first, so everyone else are weird. There's actually also a funny thing is that speaking of the Shadowbringers version in E6, is that there's tethers there too, but those ones Like, everyone gets pairwise tethered together, and running away from each other breaks them, which kills you. You don't want that. But specifically, the tanks and healers get paired together, and the tanks have to bait cone AoEs while that's happening. So the tanks and healers are basically standing at max range from each other without breaking the chains. So there's a lot about standing as far away as you can without being too far away. Anyway, should we try that? Do we have 3 volunteers that would like... 4 volunteers, sorry. 4 additional volunteers, I should say, assuming that my 3 existing volunteers want to come. The stack of people. Graham, do you not want to come? You don't want to come? Well, it seems like we're 1 person short. So what do we do then? Ocni is coming? Alright, I'll wait for you. Hey Shaq, hope you're doing well. Maybe I should put a pinned comment about the Mog thing. Well, yeah, that's an interesting thing I've noticed is that personally, I felt that mechanically Shiva felt a lot easier than Ramu, and mechanically Ramu felt easier than Leviathan, and mechanically Leviathan felt easier than Thornmarch in some ways. It's just that because the item level the item level requirements get lowered, it becomes like, oh yeah, it's more complicated, but you don't have to do very much damage to make it work, so you just have to like try your best, and that's good enough. But it really does feel like as we're going up this list, the fights get more and more and more complicated rather than less, even though we're going back in time. That's pretty funny. Huh. Ultimate weapon has an minimum item level of 61. I imagine what we will run with is 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 4 DPS. If it turns out, if it turns out that it is actually possible with a very low player count, we will probably have to drop down to 1 healer at some point. I will probably stay as Scholar, simply because it means that I can, if nothing else, depending on how weird this gets, I can send a messenger in the form of a Kabi across the wilds onto the tank if I have to stand in Narnia. Like, that's at least something. Q3 is great, also. But it's just that I'll stay Scholar because it has a slightly bigger toolbox. But like a pure healer would actually is also really great. That's convenient. I had actually been taking notes like how will I manage to do all of the Realm Reborn extremes before Dawn Trail, but if we can do 2 at a time, that helps. Zarv says I'll put down markers. Do you have markers for this? Those are going to be some close clock positions. I'm joking, of course. I'm guessing C is the searing wind spot? Or what? Or is this something else? Thank you for coming, Mihoils. Hope you enjoy your food. Four and D are searing wind spots. Oh, right. So this is like radiant plume spots. That is a lot of it's actually all of the markers. Questions. Let's see. Zarf says 4 and D are searing wind spots. Radiant plume spots start from 1, then next time 2, then 3. The other end has safe spots for searing wind player. After the first Hellfire, we go to 1. There's a tank buster, then go on 1. For safety, after next Hellfire, you do the marker 2. Same thing. Any questions? And the swap seems to be on 3. I was going to say we'll probably have more questions if we give it a try, see if we wipe. That's like the classic. It's like you can get a lot of value out of like talking about a boss fight, but the best way to know what you don't understand is trying. That's also why I do, like that's what I say even in a normal fight when people say, "Is there anything I need to know?" I pretty much just say, "Let's give it a go." Welcome back, Bronto. Well, I think you missed 4-man Thornmarch. Now we're doing Ifrit. But you did not miss me finishing my tea. Hey, Zynite. This does not look very fluffy. Unfortunately, Thornmarch only lasted an hour. And we beat it with 4 players. There's a little summary in the pinned message. I'm guessing that all the letters are essentially for searing light. It's just that depending on where the rest of the group needs to be from like 1, 2, 3, 4, the searing light, searing wind, sorry, would need to be in the opposite end. It's only not fluffy if you're a coward. Hug the Ifrit. He's a good boy. It is weird. See, the thing is, Thornmarch is not that hard, surprisingly, but it's impossible with 3 players. Well, everyone said yes. Chaos. Ow. Oh, look! Nails! Oh, boy. Oh, whoops. I didn't make space for Tristan. Why am I here? I don't have searing winds. I do now. Boom! It's a lot of damage all of a sudden. Yeah, I actually thought the vulnerability stacks would have been a lot, like, longer. It's just like 4 seconds or so. Yeah. Slow down the nail killing. Uh-oh. I'm a little bit caught. I have searing winds. Excuse me, coming through. You're going to die from that, guys. You're going to die from that. Hey, Wool! Hope you're doing well. Fortunately, just Ifrit. There's a lot of close calls there. That says we skipped all the radiant plumes. Oh, that explains. I was like, I feel like there's something missing here. Ultimate countdown, the sequel to... I mean, I feel like people already did it with 6 players or something, right? Oh, we already had someone hop out. Wait, who disappeared? Huh? That's really quick. Oh, it was Nev. I was like, but Nev was a tank, right? So just my eyes just blotted it out. Like, it couldn't have been Nev who left. It's impossible. And it does seem like these searing winds are just something we'll have to juggle, which means that if we only had one healer, then the healer would just be standing over in Narnia for the entire encounter being like, hey, you guys need some healing? You have to come closer. Oh, the main tank has to face the fire breaths away from the raid? I get your point, but I mean, I can't come any closer or you'll die. You'll have to come to me. I can't come to you. Just for the entire fight. It is quite interesting that it just straight up gives vulnerability stacks instead of like some unique debuff. Yeah, I don't know what we'll do when our count goes... Oh, careful. Ultimate button down. Oh, yeah. Fairy does not get Searing Winds, no. That was why I initially went with... Oh, it goes on Mela first this time. Why I initially went with oh boy, Scholar. Ow. Was exactly because I was thinking, well, if nothing else, I could send like a messenger from far away in the form of a Kabi. Extreme button down also sounds very different than what it actually is, doesn't it? Extreme button down? Sounds a bit Kai Blush. If you know what I mean. Ham wants to do Dark Inside with four buttons and a full party. That sounds like an interesting challenge. You'd probably need to have very specific players for that. Or specific jobs, I should say. It is a little strange that Searing Winds doesn't count. Like, it doesn't do anything for the last 4 or 5 seconds. So you can just come on over and it's safe. Really weirdly early. Are we still skipping Radiant Plumes? Yeah, there's this supposed mechanic on Ifrit Extreme. It shows up if you just don't hit him hard. Oh, there it is. Ow. You just have to complain about it. That's how it works, right? Just have to call him out for being lazy. And then Ifrit goes, oh, right, that. Good point. I should do that. I should cast that thing. Oh my. It's hard to be a healer that wants to help when the boss says, go to Narnia. I decree thou must go to Narnia. There's the supposed... Oh, there it is. Exactly. It does sound like a really intense shirt now that you mention it, Bitsfox. that also works. Zav says these fights are so different on minimum item level. I could imagine that. The reason why we're doing this isn't because I'm like claiming that this is harder than minimum item level. It's just a different way to approach it, which really switches up some things. Do we have another DPS that is willing to step out? I don't know how many DPS we have to go down to before I have to before we have to drop a healer. I have a feeling that at best we would have to we could end up going 2 tanks, 2 healers at some point. It depends on whether it is workable with a healer in Narnia. Two tanks, 2 healers might not be enough damage. It might not. It also might. It depends. That's the thing. That's the reason why I usually go with 1 healer if possible. Is because I don't want to be put in the position where we have to drop half of the healing. Yes, Wool, that is the concept of Extreme Countdown. Is this your first time watching an Extreme Countdown? We've had 3 before this one. But yeah, that is the idea. We're going until we can't. We're repeatedly doing the same duty until we can't beat it with the amount of players that we have. But yeah, that is the idea. It's a Tristan first again. But that does put us in positions where eventually we'll have to make some choices. But yeah, in that case, if you think this looks like fun to watch, well, there are 3 VODs of more of this. Where we've done it with Shiva, Ramu, and Leviathan. I even have some videos on the subject where we did it. Like a summary of the streams. There's plenty if you'd like to watch the whole series. But normally we just do 1 boss. How many did Shiva need? 3. We tried with 2, but we couldn't make it before Hardened Rage. A streamery, indeed. But yeah, you need a tank and a healer. And then you just need extra damage. Like, a tank and a healer can actually survive until Hardened Rage. But you need more damage. You can do it with 3 players, where the 3rd player is a DPS. You could probably do it with a tank as the 3rd player or a healer as the 3rd player, but you need 3 players to do enough damage. It's actually Thornmarch is the first time we couldn't do something with 3 players. And that's simply because a mechanic made it impossible. Like a mechanic that basically stun locks 3 players. And you need a 4th player to help them. Not much you can... Like, there's not very much wiggle room on that one. Oh boy, Radiant Plumes. I feel like we're keeping up really well with his HP, despite like being 2 players less. Oh, that was weird. I still had the Searing Winds, that's why I didn't move. Like, he just got bored with my Searing Winds and put them on Tristan as well. It is quite very, very nice of him to like just put an extra safe spot in case you need someone to be in Narnia. Very, very polite of him. Like, I mean, I am a boss, but you know, I'm not a monster. I'm a monster, but not a monster. You know what I mean? I'm a reasonable monster. That's what I'm trying to say. Still no mounts. A monster, not a monster. I'm a literal monster, not a figurative one. That's also a pretty good one. I do wonder if there is a problem with a DPS check. Just given how we're actually... I feel like we're cleaving through them pretty fast still. Like the nails. And unless his Harden Rage is like 6 or 7 minutes, I think we're good. Still, yeah, that's a good point. Are you sure we're missing damage? We haven't seen the charge attack yet. We're still skipping a mechanic. I forgot about soccer. Oh, it's on me. Oh, right, a nail. Ah. You know what would be nice? I could really do with like a spread low. That would be pretty cool if I could have that. That would help immensely with this whole being in Narnia thing I have going. Like this newfangled thing I'm trying out, being in Narnia. Ah! Yeah, exactly, Gleaming. Also, I hope you're doing well. Oh, right, nails. Oops. I don't know how long we have to deal with the nails. That's kind of the awkward part. Ugh. So I don't know if we're really close or not close. That sounds like a long run, Wool. But I hope you had fun with it at least. Run, Tristan! How about, a lot of nails? He's really nailing it. Ow. I'll just stand here in this corner with my Searing Wind. The extra large middle nail doesn't feel that much stronger than the other ones. Or am I missing something? Uh-oh. There was a Searing Wind that wasn't being respected. I don't know what to tell you. I have the chain and Searing Winds. Are we dying now? We somehow made it. Does it... I wonder if there's any meaning in... I think I might be hit. Oh, that's not that bad. I could easily tank that. I wonder if there's any value in putting a marker on the healers. P4S prog? Oh, Vampire Man. We're going down to 4. Now, I don't know if it makes more sense. I think we're going 2 healers, 2 tanks. I think we'll have to try 2 healers and 2 tanks. And if we can't make a DPS check, then we'll have to take it from there. But yeah, part of the problem, I just want to highlight this. Because Sav says usually that's why you rotate nails with everyone focusing one so the searing wind can rotate on the other side. As we've dropped players, a larger and larger percentage of our total DPS originates from Tristan and I just running around and putting dots on everything. Just boop, 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 boop. And the only way to make that damage good is if we spread it to everything, which also means that there's a reasonable possibility that a lot of nails will go all at once. But since we're only 4 players, there's a... Oh, that also means... What will happen with the chain now? The chain always goes on a DPS and the off tank, right? There's a possibility that having no DPS for it to go on will either mean that there's no possible way that we can control it, so it'll just sometimes go on the Searing Wind healer, just straight up, just go to it. And if that's the case, then I think we'll have to go, like, we'll try it, but I think we will have to go back out and have healer and DPS and 2 tanks. Like, then we will have always Searing Wind on one person, presumably, and Tether on one person, presumably, but at least we know who. Rost says you had chain on healer, Nani, and main tank. Yes, because the chain jumped when you died. Or when someone died. Again, I can remember, was it you? But when the DPS with the chain dies, it just jumps to someone else. And that's true, Rust. I was the healer standing there. Like, I was the healer that was stuck. Like, I couldn't get away because I had to run into people to get away. So I just kind of stood my ground and hoped that I would get seen. That's also kind of why I started thinking about the markers. I'll fight this nail. Eruption on the main tank. That is pretty funny, though, you gotta admit. Like, when you think about it, that is pretty funny. I think we'll just have to be ready in case the main tank has to run as a result. Oh, hey, Tristan. Oh, hi. I do think having the Kabi as the extra... Oh, look, charge! Ow. Ow. Just do geometry, guys. It's easy. At least it doesn't give bone stacks or anything. When are the chains happening again? Where chains? Is it not yet? Is it after 50% of what's happening? Uh-oh. Rah! More chains! Oh, there it is! Well, we got the specific, exact configuration where it works. Like, had it been me, then we would have been in trouble. And now we have... Oh, never mind. Is there any way we can control that? Maybe. Maybe. Looks like a maybe. Blech. It seems like Ifrit isn't that mean. He's actively going, well, I can't put Searing Wind and the chain on the same person. Now that would just be cruel. I'm not a figurative monster, remember? What a nice guy. He's just a primal with bills to pay. Uh-oh. What do we do now? What do we do? He heard us, and he changed his mind. He does a little trolling. I think he chooses the chain slightly based on who's closest. Slightly. Not 100% sure on that one, but at least might help. Okay, I can run away now. Of course he can hear you. You're streaming this. He's watching the stream on his other monitor. More charging. Uh-oh. Nice. What's the time on the nails? Viek, I actually don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm guessing that he gives you several minutes to deal with it. And yeah, of course, it wouldn't shock me that they have a time. As Ogni says, seeing you beat the nails make me somewhat sad. Often in mental roulette, you end up with not being able to beat the nails fast enough. What are people doing? I'm actually pretty sure I know exactly what people are doing, Ogni. Because, like, it's not every time. But a lot of times I have seen people in, like, regular content, extremes or no, mental roulettes or no, where they're attacking something that is taking 0 damage, or outright returning invulnerable, and they just keep going. They're straight up not looking. They're just looking here, going, my rotation, must do maximum damage. And then you're like, you're not doing any damage. You're not attacking anything that takes damage. Oh. Like, it's shockingly common. That's not to say it's super common. That's not to say that, like, it happens all the time. But given how absurd that is, I can't imagine that it would be common at all. But yeah, if you don't kill the nails in time, Ifrit gets angry, jumps and just skips to the hardened rage. He actually does that on normal too. Like, straight up, Ifrit normal will get too miffed that you ignored his mechanic and just wipe you as punishment. He will do that. And that's also truly, it's probably that, but it's genuinely, basically, it's tunnel visioning, as Yuki calls it. And they're not looking at what they actually need to do. I don't think there is a way for us to do this with 3 players, because it seems like he will not chain the tanks together. And, well, I don't know. Quantum says, when rotations drift, what's the best way to fix things? That's a complicated question. And a complicated answer. The correct solution is to first evaluate if I delay this cooldown until the next time in the next time I want to use it, will I lose any uses of this cooldown? Let's take an example. Let's say, for some reason, doesn't matter why, Expiation has drifted so that if you use it on cooldown, it will not be in fight or flight. Basically, it has drifted 21 seconds. To fix that, you would have to let it drift an additional 9 seconds. That would fix it. The alternative is, of course, just wait with, like, if you could also alternatively drift fight or flight, and so everything else associated with fight or flight 2 seconds, so that Expiation just barely falls in, but fight or flight also denotes rate buff timing, so, like, you can't fix this problem by moving fight or flight, you have to move Expiation, because that's the problem. If you drift it 9 seconds, will that lead to you having one less user expiation at this moment? And the reason why I say at this moment is because it has already drifted 21 seconds. If you drifted an additional 9 seconds, then yes, obviously, you've lost a full 30 seconds of cooldown time on expiation. You've lost a full use. But the reason why you would consider this is because that's the reason why that's the first question. Will I lose a use of this ability if I do that? The second question is it better if I drift it? The reason why Paladin is a reasonably good example for this is that fight or flight. It's the... I don't exactly... Wait, what do you mean, Kaelia? The reason why Paladin is a good example for this is that because fight or flight is a 25% damage buff, you could also ask yourself, will I have 4 more uses of fight or flight in this fight? If the answer is yes, then delaying expiation 9 seconds will lead to 4 more expiations benefiting from fight or flight, which would give you essentially 100% extra value on expiation. And that's completely ignoring raid buff timings. Like, that's just fight or flight. That alone will essentially pay you an additional expiation for drifting it. So it could be worth it if the fight will last 4 more minutes. But if it doesn't, then it becomes really complicated, right? So the earlier in a fight that this stuff happens, the easier the answer is yes. The less time there's left of a fight, the more likely the answer is no, it's not worth drifting. And the hard-hitting truth of this is that when you are in a fight where this would matter, like, you know, an actual hard fight with a hard enrage, you might not have the mental space to deal with this calculation. And using your cooldowns on cooldown will not be optimal. Like, might not have been the best choice, but you don't have time to figure that out. However, it is often... like, basically, drifting to fix it, quote-unquote fix it, is a risk. It could be a loss, it could be a gain. If you just use it on cooldown at that point where you've already screwed it up, then it won't get worse. And there's also the possibility that later in the fight something else will cause it to drift, so maybe you'll get the fix automatically for free. So that's why I have a whole video on this subject. How do you deal with mistakes? And there, I also go through this kind of example of what if things go wrong? How do you estimate? And often the easiest solution is to just use it on cooldown, because it's like trying to fix it is a double or nothing proposition. You might gain something, but it might also just be wasted effort, and then you lose even more. So it is difficult. If you're in casual content, right? If you're in casual content, then I would say do whatever you like. Personally, and you can probably see that I've done this many, many times on stream, if something isn't aligning on my end, I also do this sometimes in my background footage in my videos, I will just... like, let it fix itself. Like, I'll just sacrifice that extra use because it's more fun to get it right. That's one thing. Another thing is that if you're proccing on a fight, then the attempt where you accidentally drift something, your choice is either freestyle your rotation for the rest of this pull, which is going to make it very hard to focus on the pull, right? Or act like nothing's wrong and just let it drift back into place. So it really depends on your situation. Smaller cooldowns I'm less worried about, but drifting, but the big 2-minute ones scare me. Yeah, with those ones, it's that one's really hard. Like, it's the same deal, is that you really want to make sure those are used on cooldown, exactly because it can be really hard to fix them once it's walked, right? Sometimes I had a scenario recently where the boss goes invulnerable and Pi decides to continue their rotations. I don't notice for a minute, causing my rotation to be off about 20 seconds. Oh yeah, there's a good example of that. If you've done P12 normal, she will be preparing to go into an ad phase, like exactly around the 4-minute burst. Like almost perfectly, she will start on beginning to prepare to summon ads and disappear. But it actually takes her like 20 seconds to get that show on the road. Which means that if you actually just act like nothing's wrong and just smash your cooldowns anyway, most of the time you'll get rewarded for it. And the problem that makes this particular example stand out so much is that some players will see that she's about to enter ad phase and choose to hold their cooldowns, and others will see that she's about to enter ad phase and go, I don't care, and just, you know, go for it anyway. And some will be caught in the middle. And then sometimes they'll choose to use cooldowns because everyone else used them, and sometimes they won't use them because they didn't see anyone else use anything. I think we actually had that up in a tea time where Gazel sent a clip of them playing Scholar, I'm pretty sure. I think. Where we ran into exactly... I think actually, no, it might have been a Red Mage clip. But it was a buff clip where we specifically noticed that particular outlier because it's really awkward. Yeah, that is like a classic one, and the thing is, Brontome, if it's casual content, it doesn't really matter. I think the important part is that if you know the boss is invulnerable or going to be invulnerable, then don't use your cooldowns. Even if everyone else is, that's stupid. But, you know, use your cooldowns when you have them. I don't know in regards to Ifrit. Do you think there's any point in trying with 3 players? It would mean that the healer is always hit by Searing Winds, and whoever's off-tanking gets changed to that healer every time. Yeah, I agree. We should give it a try. I don't think it's possible, but hey, for science, right? Mainly because I believe that we'll get overwhelmed with mechanics. Because it does seem like we're still fine on damage, somehow, with no DPS players. Tweet as one tank, and then just rest the tank. That is an interesting solution, although that would just mean that there would be chains on the 2 healers instead. It would have the same, like, it would lead to the same problem. I believe the chains don't appear until after the, like, during or after the second nails, is that right? Oh, we have so much space. I forgot the part where you go put eruption on me. Oh yeah. I didn't need those ether flows anyway. It's fine. I didn't need them. During second nails. Okay. But look at all this space we have for doing things. Let's do a little dance. Sack strats. Is that the... what was it? I was told somewhat recently that's the... what was the Asmon strats? You tank until you die, then we res you. That's how you deal with the Shiva stack cleave. You just eat it. You just tank it, and then you get raised. It's pretty smart. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hi, guys. I do know I shouldn't be here, but my searing wind is running out. It's fine. Damage mitigation, yeah. Yeah, technically you mitigated the damage. Uh-oh. I should not have a dodge to the right there. Give me a searing wind. You know you want to. Give it to me. I can take out. Just log out. The ultimate dodge. That's actually what happens in the Delubrum Reginae. When our small dragon friend just phases out, she actually quickly, like, she basically just has a lag switch. I guess we'll have to try and, like, max range this and just hope that it's survivable damage. Oh, I'm coming! From what I can see, 3 stacks is as low as we can get it without me hurting you. Oh no! He just shoves me into you. Uh-oh. I think he got angry. He got tired of our nonsense. So there was a timer. Yeah, basically everyone has to be on nails, it seems. Just circling around and attacking things. I'll try my best to hang out close enough to the tank. But just keep in mind that I'll be pulsing, searing wind. Forever. For the entire fight. Oh yeah, we also got some echo, so that's something. Oh, whoops. What's up, Adjuvaster? What's shocking? Well, I was running through them. Am I wrong? Was that wrong? That's very nice. Nice and quick. Ow. I didn't want to use Art of War anyway. This is the extreme countdown where the scholar just doesn't get to use Art of War. One Art of War. Yeah, I'm joining you guys. I want to be in the cool kids safe spot. It's a little weird to stand on top of an Ifrit for that mechanic, gotta say. A little weird. I did it again. I should dodge to the left when he does that. Slide to the left. It's a good idea, Tristan, but it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous if I count wrong, and I have to stop to cast a lot of the time as well. It's a good idea. It's just it's better to not take that risk, I think. Tank's getting close to hit nails. That's true, but I'm trying my best to just not be in the way. Uh-oh. Goofed that one up. I think part of the problem if I went with Sage is that I spent a lot of time not attacking. And at those times, Sage just provides no healing. I think we had a similar problem with Shiva and Ramu, actually. That it was simply easier with Scholar, because there the healing doesn't suddenly disappear when you have to attack. Or when you have to not attack, I should say. What's happening with the chains, by the way? Is it only during nails? To answer your question, yes. I feel like whenever my ether flow is available, I just like pass around heals to everyone because everyone needs it exactly at that moment. Ah. I mean, that can work, I guess. I'm stuck. I have to run somewhere. Nope. Copy is at the wrong spot for that guy. Did we not make it by 1 GCD? Oh man. I had a feeling. I was casting those Atlos thinking maybe this is the one that breaks the back, but I felt like I had to. Well, that means we can do this. We can do this. We have 10% echo this time. We can do this. As long as we don't, like, get goofed by a Hardened Rage after the nails, wouldn't that be amazing? We finally make it, and then he's like, oh, by the way, I have a like, a dentist appointment at 8, so, you know. Oh yeah, double tank eruption. That makes things easier for me. Give me the searing wind, Ifrit. You know you want to. I want you to remember, Orkney, that a few weeks ago, I did Thornmarch Extreme, where an 8-man group could not beat it. As in, timed out, ran out of time, could not beat it. And we beat it with 4 players. In an hour. Like, in the total time of that run, we beat it with 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4 players. You know, good players is quite an amazing upgrade to your groups. We also have a Head of Death in the in the attempt we just had, so ow. Wouldn't that be sad if I died from the small amount of damage that you take when Searing Wind is applied? It would have been the saddest way to have to try again. It's just, yeah, he sniped you. I feel like there's a curse or something here. Every time I lean right, the person on the other side leans left, and vice versa. If we could just, like, go clockwise, or like always clockwise, or always counterclockwise, this wouldn't be a problem. Is this one of those cases where mechanics are infinitely easier to navigate with fewer people? With Thornmarch, that's a big maybe. Like a huge maybe. Fewer players means there's less damage going around, meaning that it's easier to get the Mogs down to low HP. Just reminding that we all need to participate in the nails. Oh, I was just about to say, no more nails. Or no more chains. And then he was like, nope, not quite finished yet. I'll just stand here, I guess. Better not risk being between 2 circles. By the way, Kabi, you should go over there. Hang out with Ray. Hey, Caetsu. Hope you're doing well. Oh, we already finished beating up the fluffy king. We could get it down to 4 players. But Ifrit seems to be doable with 3, so here we go. Sorry. What? I didn't even see that one. Did we make it? Not going to use AoE on 2 nails. I was dotting everything. Bio on 1 is actually more potency than AoE on 2. And by the time I finally got around to being able to Out of War, I'm actually more focused on standing just far enough away from Zava Ray. Because the further away I am, the more damage the chain does. And I'm already strapped. So if I started greeding on that, then I would just lose GZDs to having to spam Atlo. That was the reason why I just stood and spammed Ruin. But yeah, Bio 2 on 1 enemy is better than Out of War on 2. Assuming the full dot ticks out. Whew. 10% echo. 3-man. 10% echo was enough. I just want to remind you that we were like that. I was not going in initially because we were like, it's probably not possible. It's probably too hard. We do it anyway. That's 3rd try. I feel like we had more difficulty with Leviathan. Well done. That's also hard for the tanks. Praise be his crispiness. He's very, very toasty. I think it might also be possible with just 5% echo. But it has to, you have to be perfect. Or at least, well, I mean, on 5% we could have done it. We were 1 GZD away, and I could have just, not have used 1 Adlo, and that would have been fine. So that also means it might be possible with 0 echo if, your healer's even more greedy, and everyone makes 0 mistakes. I feel like I'm pretty sure I didn't use a tincture on our first attempt either. So it might be possible without Echo. But it's just to say we beat it with 10%. So, like, that's what actually happened. It would have been harder with 5 or 0%, but it might be possible. But it's difficult because, like, genuinely, me greeting more on damage is also more possible because we had more HP to work with. Like, 10% more, in fact, than we were supposed to. I know, it's pretty amazing how 10% Echo works. We have only one extreme that needs more than 3 people so far. And that's Thornmarch. It's not too surprising. Given that the mechanics that the Mog's Guard does is random, I guess, like the order they do it, I guess there is a possibility that you could beat Thornmarch Extreme with 3 players if you are willing to sit through it until you're lucky. Because all you have to do is, if they do the mechanic where the paladin uses Holmgang on 3 players, you just have to kill the paladin. Like, if he starts winding up to do it, you just have to make sure the tank is ready to just go boonk and just kill him and just move on. And then you just have to be lucky enough that they didn't get to that mechanic early, so that, you know, you have hurt all the other Mog's Guard enough that it's fine that you just go dunk and move on. But that's like, I don't think that's very fun to work with, because you'd basically have to try it until, like, you'd have to give it 100% every try to see if you can do it. And every time he'll just randomly go, well, too bad, I decided to do the thing now. It can also be a DPS check with buffs and not interrupted cure flare. Well, the thing is, the cures don't heal that much. But the Pom Holy and Flare also means that your healer basically has to be a scholar, I think. Potentially. And the scholar may need to sit on ether flows to, you know, go ruin 2 energy drain on the black mage or the white mage. Which also means that the healer is too busy doing that to use Isuna on the people in Moogle go round. And that's also true if, like, you can just step out of the Pom flare, and if there's only 3 people on the field, there's a reasonable chance that no one's getting in trouble from that. Like, the healer just has to be careful where they're standing. But it is specifically the fact, like, most of the mechanics are doable. Like, if you have 2 tanks and a healer, and you see Pom Holy come out, the healer can, you know, Isuna 1, energy drain the black mage, Isuna the other, energy drain the white mage, sorry. Isuna 1, energy drain the white mage, Isuna 2, energy drain the white mage, while both tanks are ranged attacking the white mage. It could work. But you have to be super perfect about it. And the reason why that's too much is specifically because you have that. Like, every single mechanic, you have to be perfect and deal with them exactly on the nose. The Moogle nose, even, to make sure that it goes right. And then there's also the possibility that the paladin just goes, I'm doing Holmgang now. And then, if your tank isn't fast enough, then you lose. And, or like, if anyone's not fast enough to kill the paladin, then you lose. And if the Holmgang came out too soon, then it doesn't even matter that you got it, like, that you did it right, because it randomly decided to do that mechanic too early, so you didn't have enough time to whittle down the Mogs. And then we also have to remember that there's no DPS on the field. So basically, all the damage going out to the Mog's Guard is the 2 tanks basically, Like, I mean, they could just run around and chase down the Mogs, because given there's only 2 tanks and a healer on the field, it doesn't matter that much. The healer can just move out of the way. And as long as the king doesn't get close to, like, something... I mean, he will get close to stuff, but, like, at least the tank that isn't babysitting the king could run around and try and hurt stuff. So there's a lot of things you could do, but the key problem is specifically the part that, from what I could tell, it was completely random what order they decided to do the tactics mechanics in, which means that every try you could have, like, basically the key here is that I believe the Pom Holy mechanic with Moogle Go Round, so it's called Moogle Go Round, but it's Pom Holy and Moogle Go Round, cannot happen in phase 2, but can happen in phase 3, and I think also 4, which means that you have to get the king down to 90%. Then you have to go through the whole, like, rigmarole of getting all the Moogles to, like, really low, and then kill all of them one by one really quickly. Then phase 3 starts. You might have spent, like, 3 or 4 minutes by now, and then the Mogs guard might just choose to do Moogle Go Round right then and there. Boom, you lose. Well, actually, no, that's not the one that loses you. It's the Holmgang one. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. The Holmgang one, where you basically three players are marked are marked for death with Reign of Death, and 3 players are marked with Holmgang. And you need to kill the paladin to stop it, or you lose. But if they choose to lead with that mechanic, you lose, because you didn't get a chance to hurt the Moogles. And the only solution is to kill the paladin. That's the only way to beat it. From what I could see, it looked like the damage buff on the Moogles, it looked to me like it capped on 3 stacks. Did anyone see it go above that? Like, it doesn't matter. As far as I could see, the Reign of Death was basically lethal if the Ranger had 3 stacks. It was just more the point that... It was just I saw 4 at least. Well, maybe in substance, I feel like I saw 8. Well, that would be a problem. But yeah, then you would have to carefully juggle the king and I guess the bard to make sure that people like the Mogs actually lose those stacks. But it is definitely also a factor, and that would also mean, probably not surprising, that the healer would probably be spending more time healing than attacking. And yeah, the bard runs around, so there's not much you can do. The only thing you can do is try and make sure the Moogles that you have any control over are not near the bard. And the ones you can control is the tank Moogles, and you can kind of control the thief Moogle, and you can control the king. The reason you can kind of control the thief is that the thief randomly chases down people, so if no one's near the bard, then the thief will not be near the bard, because he'll be chasing people and people are not near the bard. But that still leaves out the ranger, who could randomly just be where you don't want them. The black mage, although all of his damage is avoidable, and the white mage, who doesn't attack aside from the lethal Pom Holy. But yeah, you would have to deal with all of this. All these moving parts you'd have to work with and make sure to, like, juggle the king so that the tanks don't get too many stacks. You have to make sure no one's near the bard, wherever he is, so that the thief doesn't get buffs. And you also have to deal with mechanics like Moogle Go Round, where it's just the Mogs guard just suddenly goes, bam, speed, quick test. Can you Isuna twice and also stop the white mage in time? You have about 3 GCDs of time. Go. And all of that, each mechanic, each test where it's just go, you have to do it perfectly. And even if you do, the Paladin Moogle might just go, alright, time's up, I'm using Holmgang. And then you have to kill the Paladin, and then you have to hope it was fine. And that's why I feel like it might be interesting to see if you could do it, but I feel like... Well, first of all, I don't feel like grabbing like 2 random people from a stream and going, alright, now we're progging this for several hours, potentially. That would be something that I would probably be working on voice chat. Viek says, why does a Paladin even have Holmgang? That is an excellent question, Viek. You know what's even weirder? The Paladin also is the one of the 2 tanks with an attack that heals them. It doesn't have a name, from what I could tell, but it basically means the Paladin has Storm's Path and the Warrior doesn't. Like, I couldn't possibly tell you. It doesn't even look like Holmgang. It doesn't pull you in and snare you, it charms you for 18 seconds. It makes no sense. Holmgang. Yeah. But that's the reason why I said I don't think we can do it with 3, is because thinking it over, there might be a way to do it. But it requires a ridiculous amount of luck, I feel like. From what I can recall, there's 3 tactics that the Moogles can use, where one of them is Moogle Go Round, one of them is Delta, and one of them is Holmgang. And if it's random, which order they're used in, then it means if they can use all 3 mechanics in both Phase 3 and Phase 4, I'm not entirely sure how this works, but if they could do that, then it means that you're going into this fight and you need to, like, win the 1 in 3 twice to have a chance of winning. And then you also have to do everything perfectly. So you'd have to do everything, like on average, you'd have to do everything perfectly 9 times in a row. On average, you'd have 1 try where it would choose to put Holmgang as the 3rd tactic in both Phase 3 and Phase 4. Maybe you're also just lucky that you could somehow get rid of the Moogles before... Like, maybe you could somehow speedrun fast enough with your 25% echo that you could, you know, do it before it becomes a problem. But it's just too... It just feels like it's too much. I feel like it would be something that you'd have to do in voice chat. You do not trust in RNG. Yeah, exactly. I've gone through that before. It's been a while. But back when I did Castrum Meridianum solo synced as a scholar, when I beat it, I basically went, I'm not, like, when I beat the Black Eft, I basically went, I'm not doing that one again. Because we timed out before the final boss, because I wiped too many times. I wiped like 4 times. I just said, I'm not doing that again. Because I'm pretty sure I beat it because I was lucky. And I'm not going to go into Castrum Meridianum and fish for luck until we beat it. It's possible that must be enough, right? You could let someone die and rest them, then store the rest for Holmgang, but then you'd need a second reser. Exactly, Viek, and you need 2 tanks and a healer for the fight. You can't solo tank it. That's not possible. And there's basically a mandatory tank switch. It's basically a mandatory tank switch. And with a mandatory tank switch, you need 2 tanks. If it was a Realm Reborn summoner, it might have worked. Good idea, but then again, we would be lacking the Endwalker power creep. You know? Could we just rewind back to a Realm Reborn, and then we see the potencies on our actions and go, oh, right. Are you doing Heavensward Extreme Trials next? I think... Like, I have actually looked at it, like, now that we beat Ifrit and Thornmarch is in, like, King... the fluffiness himself and Ifrit in a single stream. It might be possible to finish the Realm Reborn Extremes before Dawn Trail. But when Dawn Trail launches, it'll be a while before this is what we'll be doing again, I think. But I am aiming to try and finish the Realm Reborn ones before Dawn Trail. And then maybe when we revisit, like when we're ready for it again, we might try Heavensward as the next one. And then go from there. But there will probably be a long while once Dawn Trail comes out, where there'll be a lot of streams that will be, you know, leveling jobs, learning jobs, grinding stuff. Philippe says, for some reason I thought you already did all the AR ones. We're missing Titan, Garuda, and Ultimate Weapon. I've just done them in backwards order, as you can see. The reason why I've done it in this particular order is also because, for some reason, they're ordered in this way and the item level requirement gradually drops. Which of course also means that, I mean, who knows, maybe we can 2-man Ultimate Weapon. When's the UCOP countdown? I don't think I'll be hosting that one anytime soon. But I hear it's already beaten with 6 players. The way to 2-man Ultimate Weapon is to have your tank die and raise them. VX is already down to 6. Well, I mean, Viek, the way that we do Ultimate, like, Extreme Countdown is we'd start from 8. Yeah, we don't... I don't know, Philippe. The thing is that the way that I do these things, I had already planned. I can actually see here that I can adjust that a little bit. I had already started to look ahead, like, oh, I need to add like an extra Extreme Countdown stream if we're going to do all of them in time. But if we can do them 2 at a time, then hypothetically, then we can probably do it without like rushing. But I do imagine that if Ultimate Weapon is ultimately easy, then who knows, maybe we'll like dabble in coils, but I think like we will not be able to finish that. Welcome back, Bits. We're just talking. We actually beat Ifrit with 3 players. 2 tanks and a healer. You just have to sit at exactly the distance where the chains debuff is at 3 stacks. Then you don't push the tank around. Which means that for a lot of the fight, I was just hanging out in the middle of the room. And just like angling myself. It was quite hectic. But yeah, that's the plan. Is I have a mind to do a stream, or to stream Extreme Countdown for all of the ARR extremes. If we can do more than that, great, but I'm probably going to postpone anything of Heavensward and beyond to once we're in Dawn Trail. And then I also plan to revisit Solo Challenge stream, because there's some dungeons, some encounters where I either just flat out skipped them, or I had to give up. And I've, gotten better since, so I'd like to revisit them and, try again. And I feel like that's something we can do. But beyond this, there's not that many weeks until Dawn Trail. Because the week Dawn Trail comes out, it'll be Tuesday. That day we'll all have to spend preparing ourselves for Dawn Trail, do anything you need to do, because Wednesday, Thursday, the servers are down. So if I do a stream that Tuesday, that stream will basically be me doing that. Straight up me just doing that prep work. So that does probably explain why there isn't that much time, surprisingly. We also have walk and talk streams left to do before Dawn Trail. Yeah, about 4 weeks. In EU, at least, tomorrow would be when it would be 4 weeks to the day, I believe. That Thursday is the longer-awaited and anticipated math stream. I think what I'll be doing in the Dawn Trail release week, Brontome, is that I will be streaming more once Dawn Trail comes out. So there might just be a stream Tuesday and then not a stream Thursday, but then more streams in the weekend. But it would be pretty funny if I planned a stream on that Thursday anyway. I was just like, well, there's no Final Fantasy XIV, so... just turn my camera so that we can have a school. But it is quite concerning that, when you really think about it, it is a little bit concerning that sometimes you can land in groups for these extremes, like a full 8-man group, and it's just not possible. It's just not happening. And from what I've seen, and now just reminder, I haven't landed in Bowl of Embers on Mental Roulette recently. It's quite shocking that we can beat it with so few players when you can have a full 8-man group and it can't be done. But then again, just as a little, how should I say, a little bit of a of a perspective on the other end is that in some of these fights, part of what makes it not possible with 8 like that is that while you can beat Shiva Extreme with 3 players, one of those 3 players has to be a tank, one of those players has to be a healer, and because of the kinds of mechanics that is in the fight, some person just not getting it could kill you. Like, if someone gets a spread marker and they insist on stacking with you, then it doesn't matter that you know what you're doing if they don't. If someone gets the pushback line and they don't know to not point it at you, they can just kill you. They could just take you with them to the grave. And it's the same thing with the other bosses. Like, with Ramuh, you could have some person just yoinking all the orbs. With World Eater or Leviathan, well, I mean, you could have someone pull the lever too early. And with the fluffiness himself, you could just have someone who just doesn't understand they have to not kill anything. Do you think the minimum amount of players would change using synced Blue Mage? Yes, because sometimes Blue Mage is somehow capable of soloing some of these things. Sometimes. I could imagine some of them, you would go down from 3 players minimum to 2. For example, I'm reasonably certain that 2 Blue Mages might be able to beat Shiva. Not sure on like 2 Blue Mages on the others, but I could at least imagine that Blue Mages would make it seem much easier. You might be able to do it with less echo and so on. Like, as I said earlier during the Thornmarch part, I'm choosing to not use Blue Mage partly because you wouldn't be able to use Blue Mage in like something like Mental Roulette. You wouldn't be able to randomly queue into it. Similar to how you wouldn't be able to use voice chat with 7 randos. I mean, you could. Good luck. You just zone into an extreme and someone starts posting, join the Discord, get in voice comms right now, and you're just like, no. Absolutely not. Right? That's not happening. Bits Fox, that's only possible if you're level 60. At least. From level 60 onwards, a Blue Mage can do that. It's basically that it's a fun fact that people discovered so long ago that it's kinda getting muddled whether it was level 50 or 60, because level 60 is so long ago that people forget that that they're like that it was level 50, then 60, then 70, then 80. Blue Mage mentor. Imagine if Blue Mages could like queue for Mentor Roulette, and then groups could just in general opt in to receiving Blue Mages. Like, as if there's like, you know, like when you're queuing for, like, I know, leveling roulette, there's like an extra box you can, or like in here maybe there's like a box you can tick, enable Blue Mage mentors, and then there's just an extra roulette that only Blue Mages can use, and only if they have over a certain number of spells or something like that, so that you don't have like a Blue Mage with only water cannon come in. Might even require the Blue Mage actually has like a certain item level and all the spells, because it's a Blue Mage mentor, right? It could also be helping with Blue Mage spells, but I do think it would be really, really funny if you could just be queuing into something and then randomly there's a Blue Mage that's like, so, anyone need a vibe check? But yeah, some sort of random queue for limited jobs would probably be nice, given that we're getting an extra one. Eventually. Because I do believe they said that Beastmaster was slated for 7.3 or later, which is, given the current patch cadence, that would mean that Dawn Trail is coming next, like end of next month, technically start of the month after we're talking about the official release, which means that 7.1 is coming about 4 months later, and that means 7.2 is coming 8 months later than the official release, and that means that 7.3 is coming, you know, around July 2025. So, like, we've been promised Beastmaster, but not in 2024. I consider that. That's also true, Caetsu. If they added some sort of queuing for blue mages, they'd need to have something with ethereal mimicry, because it wouldn't work otherwise. They could make it so that they could just make it so that ethereal mimicry just flips through the 3 rolls when you cast it. That would remove the problem. Like, you just, every time you cast it, it goes tank, deeps, heals. Tank, deeps, heals. You could also just start with DPS. That would help a lot. The weirdest thing that I hear sometimes is people getting angry that a blue mage used ethereal mimicry on them. What would be the abbreviation for Beastmaster? Maybe BAM. BAM! Or BMR, maybe? Beastmaster? VX, that would mean players would use it in combat based on what the player needs, and everyone would choose DPS otherwise. I suppose so. It's almost like they could just make it so that it can't be used in combat. They've actually done that before. Back when Astrologian had a diurnal and nocturnal sect, you couldn't change once combat started. It says, am I wrong in understanding that mimicry does nothing to the target? No, it does nothing to the target. Getting offended that someone uses ethereal mimicry on you is the same as being offended that someone runs up to you and uses a custom emote to say that you stole 20 gil from them. Or getting offended that someone randomly casts benediction on you. Doesn't do anything bad to you. It makes a sound. I mean, it makes a sound for everyone nearby, so. Drains all your power. Imagine if it just stole MP from the person you used it on. That is pretty interesting, Zab. Someone just gifting your minions. Thank you for mimicking me. Have these. Now, amazingly, we managed to do 2 extreme countdowns in one stream. But with that said, if you enjoyed the wonderful company of the people in the chat or me, remember that there's a Discord community server that you can join. There you will also find the weekly schedules. You can see what else comes up on the channel in the coming days. Tomorrow we have more Final Fantasy XIV Mythbusters. And if any of you are the slightest bit curious about the Art of War on one thing from yesterday's video, watch the Mythbuster, because yes, I put it in that too. I explain it in that too. You will also find the announcement room where you will see links to videos or streams, whatever it is, so you can join straight through the Discord. You'll also, if you go to the role assignments room, you can grab the reminder role, and then you'll get a notification whenever I do post a video or a stream or anything else pretty much that is of significance. You'll also get an extra notification around 15 minutes before streams start, so you don't miss a second. And if you did like this particular stream, it helps me a lot if you leave a like on it in the YouTube system. That of course tells YouTube that this was a very enjoyable stream and you'd like other people to enjoy it as well. So that of course helps me directly. So thank you so much in advance. And if you would like to support the channel even more directly, you can become a member of the channel. You can gift memberships. You can also use the super chat system. And if you don't want to mess with the YouTube stuff, there's also a Ko-fi link in the description that all of it supports me directly, helps a lot. Yeah. So thank you all so much in advance, and thank you to all the members that are in the chat as well. Thank you. I think that's everything. But yeah, you might be saying, but wait, wasn't the thumbnail something else about telegraphs? Yeah, but Art of War is also being talked about in the Mythbusters. There's usually like 5+ things. I do hope you'll enjoy it. Now, I think that's everything I have for tonight. So, good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye!